This is CBC Saturday News.
My sign is for the mom, and I made it by myself, and my mom helped me. My mom cut out the cardboard, and I painted them in, and now they and we put sparkles on them too.
And she did a great job. This adorable girl boss was among hundreds of women and girls who braved the snow and cold for the 3rd annual Women's March. We will recap the event for you after the break. Bundled up and fueled by the fight for their rights, hundreds of people gathered downtown today for Women March On. The theme of the 3rd annual event was "We Will Not Go Back" and aimed to take a stand against provincial cuts and violence against women. Talia Ricci caught up with some of the marchers.
Their reasons for marching may differ.
I'm trying to end and stop rape culture.
Call an end to all forms of gender-based violence to ensure that consent comes first.
Most recently, we have seen homeless women die on the streets, specifically in very violent ways.
But the long list of reasons is also what united the hundreds of people who walked from City Hall to Queen's Park today for Women March On in Toronto.
The reason why a lot of people show up is because this march is intersectional. We're here for all the issues. All of the issues impact all of us.
Among the issues, government cutbacks. Organizers say the event was a chance to show the Doug Ford government that women will not return to the days when they enjoyed fewer rights than they do now.
The theme is no going back, and we will not go back, and we won't be erased.
This march started 3 years ago after the results of the U.S. presidential election. It has since gained quite a large momentum here in Toronto.
And also in other Canadian cities like Ottawa, where a similar theme unfolded, many braving the cold to deliver their message. Alongside the women leading the movement, men hoping to shape the definition of the word ally.
It's a verb, it's not a noun, and it requires action. So they have to be here today. They can't just say in words that they support women, but they're not at a march like this. It's very important.
And young ones looking to the future.
What does it say?
It says more girl bosses.
And what does that mean to you?
It means that I think they should be equal against girls and boys.
We'd like people to walk away feeling empowered, feeling like they've got some more information about some people's lived experiences.
A feeling that seemed to be reflected by those who took to the streets. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
Allegations of harassment by one of Canada's Olympic greats. 2-time bobsleigh gold medalist Kaylee Humphries revealed on CBC News Network that she has filed a harassment complaint with her sport's governing body.
In breaking down that process, in talking to other athletes who have been in this similar scenario, who have worked with these same people, I was able to start to piece together pieces. I was able to identify my feelings, exactly what they were, exactly when and how and who, and I was able to put together an entire picture. And then from that point, I was able to step forward and make the claim.
Humphries did not reveal what type of harassment she is alleging. A Bobsleigh Canada skeleton spokesperson has told CBC the organization is aware of the allegations, is taking them seriously, and has forwarded the complaint to an independent investigator.
Cities across Canada and the U.S. today, people took to the streets in the name of equality and fairness.
This was the Women's March in Washington, and scenes like it unfolded in New York City, Ottawa, and right here in Toronto. Our Natalie Johnson joins us live with more on the demonstrations and the message. Natalie.
Well, Andrea, the Women's March began in 2017, the day after Donald Trump's inauguration. That protest in Washington was the biggest demonstration there in decades, and it has since become an annual affair, replicated across North America, including here at home in Toronto. On a snowy Saturday, they bundled up and bellowed. Hundreds of women, loud and proud, fighting for female rights.
For equality, we're marching to reduce barriers for us.
I'm a feminist and I'm out here to support myself and other women in Ontario.
A self-described army of confident women representing every generation.
Multi-generational women's issues are everybody's issues.
Fighting for fairness.
Whether you define yourself as hetero or queer or LGBTQ, wherever you fall on the spectrum, it's important we're all here for each other, standing for each other today.
Education and reproductive rights.
To ensure that our daughters are going to live in a better world and that pro-choice is always on the table for women.
Women and all folks deserve to be treated equally and justly.
The movement began in solidarity with American women protesting the Trump administration. And today, women in Washington took to the streets there once more, calling on the U.S. president to end the government shutdown and allow federal workers back to work.
I haven't been paid in 6 weeks, so I thought I'd come out and protest that fact.
Having the family see the entire country come together for something big, it's huge.
What is the message you want to tell President Trump?
That he needs to be kinder.
Hello, Women's March, Ottawa!
In Canada's capital,
Let us remember with every freezing step why we march.
the message from many was taking a stand against violence.
I think it's terrible that women are still having violence against them.
I have managed to be able to stand up to any harassment. I'm lucky that I could.
And whether at Parliament Hill, Queen's Park, or City Hall, they called on policymakers to keep female rights at the fore.
We have the power to move forward.
And move forward they did today. Thousands of women, millions of steps, one message. And here in Toronto, speakers at the Queen's Park rally highlighted the province's repeal of the modernized sex ed curriculum, as well as this week's changes to post-secondary tuition grants. Reporting live, I'm Natalie Johnson. Sean, over to you.
You're watching Global Toronto. This is Global News at 6.
Another story making headlines today. People around the world rallying for the Women's March. And while the movement, born out of a strong rebuke of U.S. President Donald Trump, has hit some snags, as Matthew Bingley reports, it is alive and well in Toronto.
Appearing through a snowy haze, slowly filling Nathan Phillips Square, woman by woman. Some arriving with signs, others simply with their passion for equality.
My toes are cold, but to see this many people turn out, it's wonderful. It just shows how when we come together, change can happen.
Hopefully it's more represented in every day, and it doesn't just need a day and a march to represent what we're trying to do.
For Emily Howell, one of many taking part with her daughters, the day became a good opportunity to talk about why it's so important.
I told them a little bit about pay inequality, that, I make 70 cents to the dollar as compared to a man for my job, and that often their voices will change and maybe not be well heard when they get older. So I think it's really important that they know that they matter.
Compared to the march in Washington, which was somewhat larger, Toronto's didn't lack in its passion. And while infighting between the movement's U.S. founders has cast some doubt over its future, Toronto's organizers say they're not letting up.
We just want people to hear the message of our speakers and kind of be inspired to take action in our own city and province.
Sexual violence support worker Farah Khan says it has good reason to press ahead, and it's a good reminder to those in power the Canadian feminist movement isn't just a fad.
We recognize that women's rights are human rights, and we need to keep pushing forward this movement, because we cannot go back to a provincial government that is saying that these things are arbitrary or not important. These issues are extremely important. Women are dying in this province.
After the speeches and chants, like the name suggests, they marched. For those marching up here to Queen's Park, the message is clear. This movement is far from over, and even a little bad weather isn't going to get in their way. Matthew Bingley, Global News.
The movement began 3 years ago, immediately following President Donald Trump's inauguration. People in cities around the world standing up and speaking out for what they believe in. Jennifer Johnson has more on today's rally in Washington.
This is what democracy looks like.
Carrying a banner saying the women's wave rises, thousands of women, as well as some men, marched from Freedom Plaza near the White House to the U.S. Capitol, demanding equality, an end to sexism and racism, even chanting against President Trump's border wall. Women, young and old, showing their voices matter here and in the voting booth. This march was started in 2017, the day after President Trump's inauguration. It has helped galvanize more women than ever to run for elected offices.
We just voted in the most diverse, women-centered Congress in history.
Some women today still wearing the infamous pink pussy hats in protest of sexually explicit comments made by Mr. Trump that surfaced during the 2016 campaign. They hope someday a woman will lead the White House.
I dream of a country where a woman can have the peace of knowing that her work is valued. Get out the way, Trump, get out the way!
Crowds were much smaller this year due to poor weather and after one of the march leaders, Tamika Mallory, came under fire for supporting Louis Farrakhan, known for anti-Semitic comments. She gave a fiery speech embracing women of all faiths.
We will stand together. We will love one another. We will protect one another. We have nothing to lose but our chains.
Nothing could stop hundreds of thousands from marching in protest of an America they see as being run by white men, led by a president who has made many derogatory comments about women.
We will not be silenced!
An America where these women want respect and their voices heard. Jennifer Johnson, Global News, Washington.